Hello, everybody, as we are still going down this road of Overwatch today. Again, you've already heard me say it multiple times. I am your caster, Rich, right here with Necra. And Necra, we've got some great, exciting matches still to come, as it looks like it will be Pile Driving versus T3 Subs.
It is going to be Pile Driving versus Tier 3 Subs, and what the most exciting part of this is you might notice a couple of the people that are on both of these teams, huh?
Yes, indeed. And again, with that selection, let's give a little bit of a breakdown, because I know we've got some, I believe, from the media department from Elo Hell, even as you were talking about.
Yes. Yeah, we do. We have PMA Jellies noted for their work in the workshop. So if you've played any of the game modes on the Elo Hell Esports website, a lot of those actually came from PMA Jellies. So this is super exciting to see them actually playing against this team of Tier 3 Subs. You've got Doggo, Razor, Aspire, Aspen, Cowman, and Rugob. Like, this is a crazy, scary looking team. And it's really exciting to see them play in this tournament.
And with us, as we have multiple times and will still continue right now at this moment, we are going to be on Nepal first. And with the type of compositions that we've seen already today, we most likely won't see anything too out of the ordinary, and it's really just going to be playing especially around this Pit of Doom that is on the outer side of that control point, with the 5 seconds now to go until these doors open. And I do have some hover over for Pile Driving, looking to maybe have some fun, but I can guarantee you that those will not be the selections. But
are you sure about that, Rich?
Wrong.
Are you sure about that, Rich? I think you're wrong. I think they're actually coming out of spawn with this Bastion play, and I actually love this choice because Bastion acts as such a good counter to team synergy. And Tier 3 Subs is a team that just put together. So this is going to be fun for the tournament here, fun for us to cast. I can't wait.
And the Wrecking Ball going to be separated with the Tracer on the outside, splitting attention for Pile Driving to try and compete against T3 Subs on this back position, looking to potentially start to control it. And look at how spread T3 Subs is just across the map right now. The flank coming in by the back line from Cowman with that Sigma, but Logna able to take an early pick onto Razor. No aggression needed outside of just getting those few members to the point and taking it. Pile Driving in a good spot to gain some percentage.
And there's an amplification matrix right in front of Colorblind on the Bastion, so pumping in a lot of damage and really zoning off Tier 3 Subs as Pile Driving takes control of this point first.
Nice takedown, though, by Aspire to get rid of Colorblind. Looking to regroup, though, 20% and continuing to climb. That Tracer play, though, is one of the things I am really excited to see, especially now that the Pulse Bomb is alive and active for this next engage.
That is going to be alive and active. Logno has been able to harass the backline of Tier 3 Subs so much that Pile Driving's already rewarded with 30% of this point. Now Tier 3 Subs, though, walking in with ultimates of their own. As long as they can mitigate the damage coming in from Logna's Pulse Bomb, then Tier 3 Subs has a lot of agency going into this next fight.
A boop almost coming out here by Frogger on the backside. There's the Pulse Bomb onto multiple members, going to get the kill. The cleanup from Pile Driving, able to show T3 Subs that there is some dominance to be had, as a 55% continues to climb with a lot of ultimates on both sides.
A lot more ultimates on the side of Tier 3 Subs, though, and particularly the one that I'm looking at is going to be that Mei Blizzard. Remember how this one usually goes, Rich? There's a Blizzard on one side, and there's no defensive ultimate on the other.
Razor leading into that back position. Can the freeze bring this Bastion down? Colorblind overrun on the front position, 77%. And you will see T3 Subs finally able to dislodge Pile Driving away from this control point, allowing it to be turned over at 85%.
Oh, and it wasn't that expensive of a fight, though, either. Tier 3 Subs still has 3 ultimates to utilize here, but Colorblind has been holding on to this tank form configuration ultimate for a little while now, and now that there's control of the point, Tier 3 Subs can set up with the Crossfire.
Yeah, that early pick too by Aspire coming out early, but that nice melee kill by the Tracer, getting a clip out early onto the Hanzo. Nice reset. 85% though, looking to fall back. 25, a long way to go. That tank configuration not going to be able to get too much advantage, but forcing T3 back as the Flux comes in from both sides, trying to see who can yield more value. The Immortality Field keeping Colorblind alive to just funnel damage down that trunk and cleaning up quickly.
cleaning up quickly, taking back control of the point here. Smart to stay to the Bastion. We don't see a lot of teams stick to their guns in those types of situations, but it worked out in full for them. And now this Bastion, feel free to set up in the back where nobody can come in close to that Bastion.
Dragon Strike and they come out. You see the response by Colorblind looking to maybe get some early vision on where it comes from with that Wrecking Ball on the low ground. Colorblind will delete anybody that shows their face onto this control point as it continues to be contested. Over time will still be refreshed. But now the Minefield giving some even more body block action for Colorblind so that nobody can get close to that Bastion. Taking out one, it's going to be Rug going to go down 99 to 44. Last ditch ever with the Transcendence, with the Blizzard actually into the corner, but the damage is really going to have to rely on a Spire right now with Razor's Freeze doing a lot of work and actually starting to yield value. But no. The remaining members of Piledriven will say, I'm sorry, we can't allow you to take this, and we're going to take this first map of Nepal.
See how much that Bastion acts as a check and balance to other teams? Colorblind was able to sit freely and just rain in damage where Tier 3 subs wasn't able to go in and even come close to touching that Bastion. We saw a little bit of an adjustment at the end where Calman went to the D.Va. Maybe that's going to be enough here, but I actually like a further adjustment coming in from Tier 3 subs where we have a Pharmercy.
And, you know, that hesitation a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how that's going to come out, you know, again, with these few seconds to go. And Colorblind, you know, I got to say from the start, really throwing me off. But that decision, and honestly having the Tracer for just that consistent disruption in the back has really worked out well.
Oh, if any team can figure out a way against this Bastion, it's going to be Tier 3 subs. Look at Calman already going over to the Roadhog, trying to get a hook and a pull and just a quick deletion of somebody, probably Colorblind on the other team.
But look at this play, though, by Fever on the front with the Wrecking Ball, just completely finding out that low ground positioning. The tank's doing a lot of damage and really just forcing T3 subs back entirely to not even be able to keep any presence near this point.
No presence, and Colorblind as well, set up on the high ground here, is putting a huge check onto that Pharmercy duo.
Now with that Wrecking Ball, trying to give some decent harassment on the front side, going up top, getting a lot of damage as this Pharah peeks over the top. That direct damage really needing to be monitored since there is no specific just ability to go head on into Colorblind with that Bastion. The Pharah play really has to be on point.
Oh, the fire play does, but maybe the hooks are going to be better. That was a big, quick pull and deletion coming up from Calman.
Tank configuration going overhead, using that explosive damage to knock Colorblind high enough. And there's Razor over top trying to get the Rocket Barrage on the Bastion. Manages to get the follow-up, even though Frogger's right there to reply. Rez forced out early to get Razor back online. Aspen committing it to make sure this point presence is available for T3 subs, with 45% still being able to be obtained and continue to climb. Logna on the back looking to still give a lot of harass. Finally goes away from that McCree play. The swap by Aspire, allowing the double at the end to turn it back.
What a quick turnaround here for Tier 3 subs, much faster than the first time they faced the Bastion. I think that Pharah is working, and also having the Resurrect online just means you have an extra member in this fight. Now, though, lots of ways to be able to crowd control Piledriven away from the point. You've got the Supercharger, you're going to have the whole hog, which is just the classic crowd control we're looking for. And of course, that Amplification Matrix could be used as a zoning ultimate. We'll see.
Fever on the high ground looking for a pile drive, knocks up multiple members, getting a great engage opportunity to draw the attention away to open up that movement forward by pile drive with the color, with Bastion getting so much damage down this choke point. Aspire will take at least down Fever, but can't seem to do much more as Logna switches to the McCree of their own with this Amplification Matrix. Bastion sitting in the back, chilling on this vase just for funsies, switching it back over and will prevent any more percentage gain from T3 subs.
Oh, you don't usually see a Bastion without the other parts of the bunker, but there's no Mercy. There's no Orisa. It's just a straight Bastion sitting on a point where there's enough people, enough pressure at the front line for Piledriven that they're just making it so difficult to even come in and contest the Bastion. Now Colorblind has the tank configuration once again, and even though it didn't do too much work that first time, there's a straightaway that Tier 3 subs is walking into.
Spire got that early pick, though, taking down Sigma for Piledriven. Might be a chance to move forward T3 will lose that Pharah play up top. The res coming out, but the boop almost getting the displacement now out in the open. The flashbang to follow doesn't get Aspen, though, forcing the Valkyrie with 92% reaching this climactic end here. Piledriven wants to exert dominance on this first control point, but still has a little bit to go. Numbers advantage in favor of T3 subs, switching it back as it will soon switch over. But with that being said, Piledriven is in a good spot to come back and strip it away.
The good part about that fight that Tier 3 subs just took is that they didn't have to use too much or commit too many ultimates to that fight. So now they have those crowd control ultimates we were talking about before. They just won with an all-out brawl. So Calman, ready to hit this Q button, will be able to use the whole hog to just keep people away or maybe just pump damage into that Bastion.
Hook on the high ground. Oh my goodness, what a pick onto Jellies as the whole hog becomes active, forcing everyone off this point. Piledriven not going to be able to touch it at all. And this is going to be now last fight territory for Piledriven.
This has been such a good fight for Tier 3 subs, though, because, yeah, they're going to have a Supercharger, they're going to have another Valkyrie, and they have the Pharah Barrage. There's a lot that we really can't see an answer to on the side of Piledriven. Sound Barrier is not usually enough for this.
Leading in with that movement speed and the Deadeye able to take down Razor. Great pick early, trying to switch it back 99 to 99, stripping it right out from underneath the noses of T3 subs to switch it back into the overtime of their own. Aspen getting the res onto Doggo quickly to keep alive. Can't seem to do much more, but the overtime wicks away. The Cowboy can't touch it in time, and Piledriven, with an exclamation point, mind you, manages to take this first map on Nepal over T3 subs.
Woo, what a start to the series. I mean, that was a much closer back and forth on that second round, but Beaver Fever, I think everyone's going to be feeling it for this hamster.
Here's that pile drive. Look at the precision. We saw this multiple times, especially on Village. The slow, patient play around the corners, utilizing that grapple to get onto the high ground of the bridge to give some major harass. And really, like you mentioned, there's no Orisa barrier. There's no Sigma barrier. There's nothing that is causing a massive bunker type of mechanic with this one-trick Bastion play that we've heard from even in the background of this Bastion play. But it's really just because there's so much harass. You've got the Tracer. You've got the Wrecking Ball. You have significant damage outside of the Bastion in and of itself to just really keep the focus everywhere else except the Bastion and just giving free reign.
I mean, this might just be Bastion's meta. There's so many shields to break. How could you not run such an explosive hero in this type of meta? But, I mean, the next map that we go to is going to be an interesting one to really see how these two teams play in terms of the style. Like, we talked about this for so many different sets now, but specifically because of how close this match really is, I feel like they still need one more map to really feel each other out and just see where they're coming from in terms of their strategy.
Mm-hmm. And when you're a specialist on a Bastion, I mean, let's be real, like, you know what you're doing. And we're going into Escort next. And when you've got the payload and you know how to play it, it can be so dominant.
Yes.
And going into that, I'm really curious how T3 subs is going to respond to this, because the hardest part with a Bastion is actually getting to a position of where you can fortify yourself and get into a more, advantageous position early. But once you're dislodged from it, it's really hard to get back. But we've seen Piledriven able to do it multiple times and make sure that that Bastion can reset once more.
I think you just run your own Bastion.
Yeah.
That's been the answer for a long time. I mean, look at what happened in EU with Clockwork Vendetta running a composition that people were like, there's no way that you're going to be able to run a Torbjorn on attack. What?
Yeah.
Your best bet.
I mean,
they ran Torbjorn on attack, and teams had to start running the same thing against them to have any sort of footing against that team.
I mean, and again, with how much damage is being pumped out by this Bastion, especially with the shield reduction, it is still really critical to have that going into it. And it actually looks like T3 subs will select Route 66. And there are some massive sightlines in this map.
Yeah. There are some real good sightlines in this one, particularly if you are a Bastion specialist. So I think we're not going to see too many different things here from Piledriven. We did see a swap out, though. That beautiful Beaver Fever play of the game. There's not going to be one no more, or at least an option in this next map of Route 66, because we do have a swap out of that Hammond player.
As we have the attacking side of T3 subs knowing this sub coming in, that could mean one of two things, that they have to really focus on what that character selection is that is a little bit more relevant for this map style, or it's just also trying to see how they can download this type of, different type of play style with this, substitution coming in. And with us looking at the defensive position, we're going to see, there we go, Colorblind once again, that Bastion specialist coming out with Logna on the Ashe here, though, which is really exciting to see, to be honest.
Yeah, but Colorblind's still going to be on that Bastion, so that's going to be a tough one. But yeah, you have Logna switching over to the Ashe, and I really love this. Ashe is such a strong hero for Route 66, not just because we saw that gorgeous cinematic that explained kind of the origins a little bit of the Ashe McCree brawl, but just because of the sightlines that this offers. You talk about the sightlines for Colorblind, but look at the sightlines for Logna too.
Now with this door about to open, T3 subs is going to have a potential massive explosion of dynamite. Does maneuver out of the way, so it's not going to allow that early percentage gain for Logna, hoping to get Bob to do something as this payload moves forward. But look at how far back. This is where it's a little bit different. We've seen so many teams play forward because they want the recontest, but the Bastion needs this high ground position to really use and rotate these shields with the Sigma and the Orisa still to this defensive advantage.
Defensive advantage here. Immortality Field is forced out, though, so that's going to be a tool not able to be utilized here if Tier 3 subs is able to make a move on this.
Now that bolster to damage just consistently shelling out onto every member of T3 subs trying to get this payload to push. The difficult part is if T3 subs can maneuver down below underneath that awning, it gives an opportunity to have to force a reposition by pile drive.
They're going to be rotating through the back of the gas station to set up on the low ground right on point. So Tier 3 subs can't really touch the amplification matrix too. Oh, the wall.
The Maywall, that typical play here when you are encountering a Bastion to rise him up into the air to get the pink. A cleanup instantly happening by T3 subs to reach this checkpoint with a swiftness.
Now they have ultimates to utilize as well. Had to use the amplification matrix of their own from Aspen, but they have a Transcendence coming online, the Blizzard as well. Basically a full slate of ultimates except for the Supercharger. So Tier 3 subs has a way to continue to snowball this point, but I like that they're using Cowman's ability to soak up damage a little bit more in order to approach this Bastion.
5 minutes is a lot of time to work with, and that payload slowly but surely pushes through that archway as the doors close behind. Storm Arrow is going to get some opportunity to really start to break and whittle down those shields. That is really giving Colorblind an opportunity to move in, but here comes the Blizzard, still sticking in the front side, repairing to try and sustain through the damage with the Discord. Immortality Field, so much dedication to Colorblind on the front, cannot survive it. Just because the freeze came out before maneuvering from that sentry position, you have now T3 in a good spot to still turn this corner.
That is a tough position. Bastion has to be a stationary hero, which means the Blizzard and anything that's really going to disrupt the composition, the bunker that Pile Driven wants to run is going to be so much more effective.
And look at this just momentum that T3 is starting to generate. That is why this escort map can either go one of two ways. I'm curious to see the switch, but T3 has been playing it very well, really finding picks out in the open and hesitant on their ultimate economy usage to pile up towards the end of this.
They do have a lot of ultimates to go through, but Logna with a great dynamite is going to get Aspire really low and also take them out before they can utilize this Dragon Strike. Luckily for Tier 3 subs, their respawn is right there, and these Dragon Strike is going to be even more potent once this payload starts to move.
5 minutes, a lot to work with. Hoping that Bob will be able to do something here as the Supercharger leads for T3 sub. Now that amplification matrixes, Frogger leads with the sound barrier to make sure to survive through the damage, but it is just way too much, unable to get it to the remaining members of the team. With an entire team kill, the bell will sound, and T3 subs approaching the end.
Tier 3 subs is going to be approaching the end here, and they still didn't have to invest too many ultimates. This is what you expect from a high-level team. The patience executed here, and now the Dragon Strike can really hit home.
Right through the doorway of where they spawn from, the Blizzard going to capitalize onto one side, trying to isolate any member coming through as the freeze counters the other. This May just making sure that nobody can exit those doorways. A complete push forward with a 4 minute and 19 second time bank. Now having Pile Driven going on the attack.
I think Tier 3 subs figured out a way around that Bastion. Just not glad to get that back up.
Just a little. I mean, the positioning is really great early for pile driven, but this is what we were talking about slightly, is once there is too much movement, it can be very difficult to set yourselves back up, especially when you're competing against a Mei that has a blizzard like that even if you get out of the turret mode and you try to run, by the time you deactivate it, you can't. Yeah, there's no way to get out of it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant by those abilities to crowd control or to dislodge that bunker just end up being super effective, because that Bastion doesn't have the same mobility as another hero like Ashe even.
And even the Ashe could be used to try and aid the aggression between the blizzard. You know, if the Mei is going to come close, you've got your fellow teammate there with that Viper shot to really kind of maneuver the player back, gain some distance, potentially find some value. So there are other mechanics around it that can really cover colorblind on this Bastion selection, the accretion, the boop, the immortality field. So it really tries to revolve around it, and it's still a viable tactic, especially now with the attacking position of pile driven, looking to set up that Bastion and secure that payload. But T3 Sub's going to say, we're not going to let you set up, friend.
No, they want to get close. They want to get personal. They really don't want this Bastion set up on the cart, because that's how that Bastion takes that momentum and runs away with it. So Tier 3 Subs is taking exactly the approach I expected them to. And look at that already. The Bastion's down.
Just quick damage out from Aspire with that Storm Arrow. Not going to gain anything. You do have, though, Logna on the Pharah, who's going to really cause some aerial distraction. If you're focusing the Bastion on the low ground, that bird's going to do a lot. Aspire just really getting a lot of harass now and just picking off members one by one in synergy with Aspen. 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go, and the respawns are still in favor of pile driven.
Yeah, Aspen did such a great job there of looking through her resources and making sure she was rotating through damage as well as the healing. And that's part of the reason why we're seeing Tier 3 Subs continue this close hold. Look at that damage.
It's quite substantial to really try and mitigate and stand as the flank might come in now. You've got the change up, no longer having that Bastion. The Ashe will be there, like you've said, trying to just find the opportunity to whittle this team down of T3 Subs since they're so far forward. The back line, though, getting damage boosted. Aspire really trying to harass, but the Wrecking Ball there looking to try and get rid of that damage, taking down Frogger and slowly but surely picking off members one by one on pile driven.
Hey, they may be called Tier 3 Subs, but these are your main roster players. Pick some of these people up, please.
I mean, like, let's be honest.
Please.
As now the halt comes in to try and bring the few up close, still managing. And honestly, the Sigma play here on the high ground, too, is getting a lot of value. The damage coming out through that Sigma play, the shield rotation to the lower ground, and the supercharger in this cart is giving some extra added value because nobody can get near it. Flux in the front now going to get a great drop down. Immortality field comes out. The clean pick by Kalman on the high ground for the double. Will secure it as an entire team kill comes out. 2 minutes and 10 seconds still to try and compete against T3 Subs.
What's amazing is if actually the team of Tier 3 Subs has affected the team composition of Pile Driven. Colorblind, our Bastion specialist, has decided to play the Ashe.
With that Wrecking Ball play still active, looking for some disruption. Here comes the Dragon Strike down the center way, getting the triple kill, the quad by Aspires. Unbelievable pickup, another reset at minute and 40 seconds. And the thing that's going to be most important is once I think Pile Driven can get rid of this first initial hold, it's going to start speaking huge values, but they just have to get rid of T3 Subs.
They do. They have to get rid of Tier 3 Subs, and they're not going anywhere, especially because that Blizzard is ready to hit. It's going to slow down and freeze so much of the momentum Pile Driven wants to be able to build up.
And you have Razor sitting in the back waiting for that pile drive to come out. Manages to do so. Colorblind on the low ground. She's trying to do everything possible to get that damage out in time for the last few moments. With just over 60 seconds, the Flux of the Sound Barrier still able to be used for pile driven. And now it's really going to come down to this last fight and looking for a regroup.
Looking for the regroup here. Immortality Field trying to keep people alive, but it's 50 seconds remaining, and there's not a team of 6 here from Pile Driven. Tier 3 Subs ready with the Gravitic Flux and another Dragon Strike. Remember how deadly the last one from Aspire was.
Dragon Strike down to the lower section. The Sound Barrier is there, and the Flux actually going to help out just slightly, but the damage now continues once hitting the ground. Colorblind, unable to survive through it, but the repair was there, but just the follow-up on the landing was too much. 25 seconds, last chance. T3 subs want to bring this to a map 3 and take a map away from Pile Drive-In.
Oh, they absolutely want to do that, and they have many tools to. Pile Drive-In's going to be walking into lots of damage here. The Amplification Matrix as well as the Supercharger are ready to go, and Aspen can use this window for herself.
Kalman on the high ground, still causing a lot of harass, looking for a flank, gonna get some damage on the backside, but the boop is there by Frogger to try and give some assistance. Can't seem to do so, but the freeze does get onto Colorblind. The overtime commences. Now you see the picks coming in. They, from the side of Pile Drive-In, has to get on this point and not move at all.
Well, that's Bastion's specialty. Just sit down and not move at all. Just shoot your shot and try to win the game. But because of how close that hold was, Tier 3 subs has the ability to come back, and they have another Blizzard.
Can it be enough? We've seen it and said it multiple times that this Blizzard is capable of completely transitioning fights instantaneously if there's a number of members in the center of that lockdown area. Logna on this Tracer, needing to find some value, looking for the backline, having some damage onto the Mercy as the aggression moves forward. Pick potentially onto the Hanzo, looking for the kill, can't manage to do so in the backside. So much occurring on the front that Tracer will not be able to gain any value going down as the Dragon Strike looks to isolate any remaining members away with the damage boost by the Mercy, allowing T3 subs to make this second map go heavily in their favor, making it a 1-1 map score of this best of 5.
Ooh, it's a close one. It's definitely a close one, but I feel like Tier 3 subs in this map of Route 66 figured out a strategy around this Bastion. A lot of it had to do with focusing it down first, really good target priority from the team, and then also just Spire had a runway to shoot down.
Yeah, really did. And that was those long sightlines we talked about. You have the Bastion having a lot of chance with the escort type style with the payload, but the Hanzo just being free to throw so much damage down those choke points, the storm arrows for the shields, able to really just push and delete anybody moving close enough to that payload was very critical. But before we go into this next map, which is going to be a hybrid, we are going to go to a brief break to allow these two teams to decide what that next decision will be. So don't go anywhere, because we've got a lot more Overwatch, friends. Welcome back, my friends, as we are here to bring you more and more and more and more Overwatch, as I am Rich Red here with Necra, and we've got a wild of a doozy map that we've totally not seen. Kidding! Kings Row.
Where have I seen this one before?
Well, I reckon it must have been multiple matches prior, friend.
That it is. That it is. I mean, it's the tried and true. So who wouldn't want to watch this map one more time here, as everybody seems to have a different strategy for it, and Pile Drive-In is no exception. They have been running a Bastion specialist with Colorblind playing the Bastion, and I'm so excited to see if they're going to run it again here and how Tier 3 subs is going to respond to that.
I totally agree with you. And again, with how much presence has been on that Bastion, it's really going to be important, that specific positioning, and really most likely playing this back high ground. That's where we typically saw it. We've seen it in Contenders. We've seen it in OWL. We've seen it in so many other different tier levels worth of, play that I would not be surprised to see that there. But again, depending upon how the rotation comes out, Colorblind might be confident to play on a lower level or on the outer side of that statue. And with the defensive side showing first, we're not going to have too much change. I do like it, again, still with Logna on the Tracer. I think that is a better decision of what we've seen because it just causes so much dismay versus a Pharah that was having trouble yielding as much value.
Yeah, the Pharah is a very good choice here against the Bastion. I actually really like this choice coming out from Razor if they decide to stick to the Pharah, just because it has a better vantage point against the Bastion where you don't have to be close in order to hit it. You just have to get behind the shields. And we're already seeing another swap in coming in from Pile Drive-In. Dooney now coming in for that main tank slot with that Orisa.
Boosted damage on the Rockets. You will see the Bastion playing in that back line position here. On the there we go, upper side through the window port. Immortality Field forced out early. The Accretion going to throw very far forward, but does manage to prevent it. Rockets raining, and Jelly's getting super low on the high ground. Has to force a rotation here. The low ground going to potentially suffer slightly with that healing unless they can rotate back. Nice pick, though, early onto Logna from that Razor far play. Like you said, you liked the pick, and it's yielding value. The Orisa and Sigma on the front still being very difficult for T3 subs to push through, though.
Yeah, there's a split focus that has to happen here. Do you focus on the ground game, or do you focus on the Bastion and behind? And unfortunately for Tier 3 subs, they're kind of doing both things, but it's working out for them.
Yeah, it really was. You saw the drop down from the Bastion play to try and counter the Sigma backline position from Calman. Once the attention was drawn to Calman, the Pharah was just able to do so much more value with the damage.
Yeah, the Pharah has been really popping off here for Tier 3 subs, rewarded for all of their valiant effort with that Pharah Barrage. You also have the Dragon Strike, so both DPS ultimates are online, as well as the supports, the tanks. I mean, basically you have it all here if you're Tier 3 subs. You just gotta make sure you don't get taken out before you can utilize those ults.
Stacking the ultimates through this choke point is critical to use. Here comes the Dragon Strike through the wall to get some early value with the Immortality Field forced out. Nice stun in addition to force it back. Will get the kill onto Logna outside of that area of survival. And here comes the rotation of ultimates, which is really going to be important to see how Piledriven is going to manage it.
Yeah, Piledriven might want to switch off of the Bastion just because they're so stationary, and the last time we saw this happen on Route 66, Tier 3 subs was able to just kind of push through, but maybe if Piledriven has a chance to breathe and get set back up again, they will be able to get this Bastion hunkered and bunkered. But Tier 3 subs is making that really difficult to do there, with just the amount of aggression, the amount of offensive pressure coming out from this front line on Tier 3 subs.
Supercharger leading into this next push just around the corner. Nice coverage, colorblind, and multiple members be getting overwhelmed. Tank configuration coming out to try and get some picks on the front side, but that Kinetic Grasp mitigates a lot of it, along with the Immortality Field. Nice repair to survive through it, but it's not going to be enough for Razor's direct rockets, dealing that significant amount of damage, as this checkpoint is going to be reached in just a matter of seconds with that final kill onto Jellies.
Ooh, I like this adjustment now coming out from Piledriven. The only thing I worry about is if those DPS heroes can maintain some point presence that Tier 3 subs is going to have, but at least they have something to mitigate Aspire with the Widowmaker as well as the Ashe.
And that Storm Arrow damage, this Hanzo play by Aspire has been practically uncontested on the high ground, and like you said, the point presence is critical. Dragon Strike now going to go through the wall, trying to get some decent opportunity to force back a few members, getting Jellies out of the fight. Logna finally responding to Aspire, but still far too much damage is done. T3 subs on the attack. Piledriven really has to try and regroup before this next checkpoint.
Oh, I was gonna say, look at how sneaky Logged is being, but the Mercy able to jump their way up there is gonna get those headshots.
Flux active, looking to lift a few members, will not be able to as the stun comes out. Razor on the front getting a nice pick with this 76 we've not yet seen before. That Helix Rocket damage really funneling into those choke points. Logna not able to find any sort of vantage with that sightline as the presence is completely being reduced for Piledriven. The Wrecking Ball looking to spin to win to buy some time, but damage from Aspire far too excessive. And round one will be completed with 4 minutes and 10 seconds to go.
Keep in mind, it's not just the damage from Aspire, it's just the entire team. Well, this is one of the reasons why I love the meta so much, because supports get a chance to pop off, the tanks are going to be popping off, and your DPS have a lot more room to pop off because those barriers are so much easily broken. So I think that you're seeing just the whole team of Tier 3 subs open up and figure out solutions to what Piledriven's coming in with, and that's been really fun to watch.
Yes, and after that first control point, Piledriven was in a really great spot with the Bastion. It gave away their type of technique and tactic, the way that they like to play, to kind of really function around Colorblind and how Logna's DPS lineup work. And now that T3 subs has really been able to evaluate that and digest this type of thought process for the gameplay style, it's now starting to switch over, and T3 subs are really utilizing that to take this advantage. And on the defensive side, we're going to still see Aspire and Razor go from that Hanzo Mei play, and the freeze is going to be really critical. But we do see Logna hovering over the Symmetra, Necra.
Oh, you know what that means. Teleport, stash you, strats.
Yep.
I think you have to expect it from a Bastion specialist. I think you just have to.
Mm-hmm. And I can guarantee you that Razor probably already knows this with that Mei play, trying to potentially use the Mei wall or anything to dislodge or prevent that type of position up top. But we've got these 5 seconds to see how well it's going to be executed by the attacking side of Piledriven.
It's hard. It's so hard as any team to fight against the teleport Bastion strat on top of the statue. They're getting set up for it.
There's
there
the
it is.
Maywall lifting it up. Able to block it. Can't seem to get there, and the damage supersedes it. Patience now for Pile Driven to take a second attempt, but will not look to do so. The character swap coming out, I believe, by Colorblind, and will now go to the Ashe. Logna changing up as well to that Widowmaker, which might be able to get some great value as long as those DPS can transition around the shields. Oh, actually another trade. It's going to go onto the Tracer.
Oh, tier 3 subs just sniffed that strategy out like stinky cheese. I mean, it was almost as if it was like, oh, here's the teleporter, not anymore. They just sniped it out immediately.
And now you have Pile Driven pushing forward, but a great recovery here by T3 subs, acknowledging this change. The Wrecking Ball can't seem to get that disruption that would have been liked for Pile Driven, as that Discord Orb immediately goes onto the Hamster, preventing any sort of aggression. That health value just being so taken down, and a regroup going to happen, and T3 subs aggressing quickly forward.
They don't want this Bastion to be able to get set up on cart, or even an opportunity for a Bastion to get set up on cart. So you can see how much they're really punishing that front line for moving in and just deleting people as soon as they walk through. This is the target prioritization we want to see from tier 3 subs.
Ooh, that accretion in the back line, able to take down Jellies, was very well positioned and timed. Aspen on the front leading. She has got that amplification matrix up for some damage, trying to force the remaining members of Pile Driven back. Will get a nice play around this statue, but unfortunately still in favor of T3 subs, who are on point and in command.
On point. You got some really good shots coming in from every member of tier 3 subs. Lots of headshots coming in, and I think the biggest tool that they've really been working around has been those Discord orbs. The communication is really apparent here, as even with the shots from the Dragon Strike.
Nice Immortality Field to come out to keep Pile Driven alive. The Minefield going to be thrown to the front side, trying to get some value as Bob comes out in the back, looking for some vision. Taking down the Immortality Field first with a Supercharger, trying to compete. Nice takedown onto Kalman, but there has been a quick exchange back. Quickly going in favor of T3. What a turnaround, regardless of Bob being on the point, not going to gain nearly as much value. Colorblind going to be brought down staggered as well, with 1 minute and 30 seconds to work with.
1 minute and 30 seconds, but they do have some tools online. PMA Jellies just switched over to the Ana. Ana provides so much more healing in this scenario, I think. A little bit more pointed healing, if you will. And especially because PMA Jellies is one of those mechanically skilled players, you just are going to be landing those shots. But another thing is that Pile Driven's moving in with a Pulse Bomb here, as long as they get a chance to use it.
Sound barrier to mitigate some damage with that Blizzard will be a quick change-up. Pulse Bomb taking down Aspire to at least slow that outgoing damage. A lot going to rely now onto Razor with 50 seconds. T3 subs have a long way to recontest this point from their spawn. And if you have Pile Driven get back to this quick enough, it could be a changeover.
It really could, but Aspen is making sure that tier 3 subs is really healthy here, even having to drop down to do some damage of her own.
And that amplification matrix coming out. Beautiful Bionade, though, to try and contest it here from Pile Driven. Jelly's in the back, managing to land on multiple members, as it will be a almost opportunity of change. But that Transcendence coming out to just heal the last few members, as Bob only hopes to do something. The Dragon Strike through the wall, picking them off. The Discord instantly placed on top. Here comes one tick, looking for the second. But Doggo on the double kill, the triple one going to be on the robot himself, as 5 seconds remain for Dooney to get with that Flux in the backside.
Oh, the Flux gonna be the last kind of hope here for Pile Driven to come in and take control of this point.
Dooney with that Kinetic Grasp, mitigating a lot of the damage, but again, the Discord on that tank immediately going to be hyper-focused. Overtime shredding away. The Wrecking Ball trying to still keep some sort of life in this point, as Overtime whittles away. With it now going to be so many members from T3 subs continuing to have presence on this point. The Flux to maneuver. Frogger away, will not be able to do anything about it. And T3 subs manages to take this third map, having a score of 2-1 over Pile Driven.
All about the adjustment strategy here. I mean, Razor showing us of just a plethora of different heroes they're able to play. Not only showing us the prowess, of course, on the Pharah, which we're seeing right now as a part of the play of the game, but many other heroes in the variety of King's Row. And that's been great adjustment coming in from tier 3 subs to just ensure they're going to be able to take control of that Bastion.
And look at that wall coverage. The timing of just that sidestep and making sure that you are not vulnerable at all. And it's those type of tactical plays, timing, and understanding of the character that can really allow you to excel moving forward and cause so much presence and practically not even be seen by the opponent. I mean, that perfect example of it right there in that window.
I mean, especially with those walls as well. King's Row is just one of those maps where it's like a Reinhardt shield that just spans the entirety of the streets. So hats off to Tier 3 subs. They are up on a potential match point now, and they're going to be moving into an assault map.
And it's going to be Temple of Anubis from what we see. We've not been able to see this one as much. We've seen a lot more of Volskaya Industries that have been more historically selected. But Temple of Anubis is one of those maps where we actually did see last week a nice variation, seeing some Junkrat play, which is able to, again, focus so much damage down that choke point towards the first initial control to take it, to really prevent anybody from moving to that middle high ground or trying to strafe underneath the lower section. So I'm really interested to see if we're going to have anything adjustment-wise to that, because we've seen, you know, Colorblind look to change it up, going onto the Ashe play, transitioning to that Widow Ashe kind of composition, which to try and help out here. But I think it's still really relevant to have that type of shield shred, and Bastion still can be viable in this. We've seen that too.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is Bastion's playground. It makes sense why Pile Driven would want to play this map, because there's some incredible strategies that you can use there, especially if you could get up into the nest, which is right above point, maybe with a Symmetra, maybe with a Mei. Sit there, just rain damage. It's great. And you can also sit on the middle high ground that exists, because there's just too many different angles that the teams can attack from. And Bastion has sights on all of those. So I love this map choice for Pile Driven. I think that this is their best chance of the assault maps that are in the pool to come back with it.
And the one thing, if we do see that nest going to be, you know, monopolized by Pile Driven, is how T3 subs is going to rotate under. We saw it quickly happen when it came to, you know, Route 66, that gas station. Once you transition around that corner and you get close enough to that awning, it completely removes any ability to see that sightline. So if T3 subs with that Bastion type of play going into this, knowing that confidence that Bastion can be played on this map, it's really critical in how that movement is going to occur. So T3 can get underneath that sightline and force the positioning from Pile Driven down to the main position, or at least just block any damage from the Bastion.
All good strategies, but this is just speculation. We don't know exactly how this map is going to play out yet. So who knows what strategy is really going to be coming out with here. I could also see Pile Driven maybe even just abandon the Bastion strategy in full. It's very clear that the two DPS players on Pile Driven are mechanically skilled. So Widowmaker, Ashe, that could also be a great duo in order to attack this point. There's a lot of burst damage that exists there in terms of just clicking heads and deleting people.
Well, and like you said too, I mean, it's not something that we haven't seen so far. There has been, you know, that acknowledgement of needing to rotate off of the Bastion play, even though this is a more Bastion, you know, dominant type style of selection with their composition. It's not something that they're afraid to make the change to, and it's really just going to depend upon that time period through the match itself when you make that critical decision. All right, we're a minute in, we're 2 minutes in, this really isn't working. Let's try and evaluate it, adjust to that different type of composition, going and rotating back to that Ashe play that we've seen already so far from Pile Driven. And it looks like we're actually going to have a team swap side here, where T3 will be on the defensive position first, while Pile Driven is on the attack first. So, and with that being said, this is going to force that Bastion change up, I feel, because on this map, the Bastion selection on attack can be really difficult.
It can be, but I've seen teams run it before. So I don't know. It's really tough to say. We've kind of run through the gambit of what we could expect to see here, but we won't be able to talk about too much until we finally see the heroes that each team has selected. And let's go ahead and talk about the defense first.
Ooh.
I spy a Junkrat.
G'day! And then we're going to see him come out, and I'm excited about it. Razor with now Aspire on the Widow. Junkrat looking to shred through the shields, while Aspire claims the back high ground to really just make sure that no one is coming through that front door.
Oh boy. I think this Junkrat's going to be a great choice here, especially because Pile Driven, in the past, in Tier 3's eyes, hasn't run too many shields. Sometimes it's the Wrecking Ball and the Orisa. Sometimes it's just the Wrecking Ball and the Sigma. So there's not too many shields that you really need to chunk down on the side of Tier 3 subs. So setting up Aspire on the high ground with the Widowmaker play, potentially getting an easy pick here, but you already see the rotation coming through, and Razor already with a quick pick.
Big dynamite here with this type of damage. Those grenades doing so much, already forcing back Logna, and really just going to keep funneling damage through here, and seeing how this Bastion is going to gain value with these shields really needing to be rotated in front.
Gotta put in one after the other, just like little baby steps here. Experimental barrier, the wall. There's so many shields that you could really use to mitigate this damage.
Nice job with the rotation. There's that usage that you were talking about. Great job by Pile Driven. Now going to look to sustain, gain some healing, try to contest on this high ground, and find a flank with the Bastion on this upper position to take the superior high ground. The Halt, though, going to pull down Bolt Tanks, not able to prevent it. That sliver of gap. But now, with the Amplification Matrix, Bastion trying to get a lot of damage out, but nobody stepping into the sidelines. You have Pile Driven really looking to claim a first tick, almost gaining a second, but the Riptire coming overhead, looking to go into the backside, does get two! The Orisa and also Colorblind going down. And that Junkrat play is something we always love to see.
I think if you are Tier 3 subs, you are okay with giving up a tick for taking the whole team fight. So that's going to be a great adjustment, a really good maybe boost of confidence for Tier 3 subs, where they don't really have to, they don't have to worry about too much more here. Pile Driven, able to move in, was able to get that clean rotation. Let's see if they could do it again here, because it worked out so well for them the first time.
Maywall going to block it, but the Flux is going to contest that positioning. Aspire instantly with a shot midair as Razor funnels tons of grenades down at that choke point here for 2 minutes remaining. The last three of Pile Driven really going to have to be careful, just trying to buy some time. But there's the sightline from Aspires, waiting for that backpedal out into the open space there. And not going to be able to do too much, and you will have a reset after Pile Driven is unfortunately brought down. Aspire gets the pick. And now, another good defense here by T3 Sub.
Another good defense. Some good shots, though, actually, coming in from Logna onto Aspire. Aspire can't peek out. They don't feel safe at this point.
Yeah, those icicles have been really critical to try and give some contesting, because Colorblind is really focusing on watching the positioning, so Logna is really having to open up that opportunity to prevent those sightlines, while coming out early to see the transition out to the opposite side, taking this middle high ground to try and see if that's a little bit better. With the Riptire coming in the back, though, going over the wall, it's going to be Razor looking for some value, using that time to its maximum to try and get the pick, and is not going to gain much value. But T3 subs, after that focus from the tire, will allow Pile Driven to unfortunately be overwhelmed with a supercharger.
Oh, the tire doesn't pick up the kills, but it does significant amounts of damage that Tier 3 subs is able to follow up on that Riptire damage. Pile Driven, though, they're coming back with a slate of 6 ultimates. 6. This is their time to shine. If it's anything, it's going to have to be now, because this is last fight territory, and they're going to have to throw everything at this to see what sticks. But I want to see them open up maybe with a supercharger here, or even with the Blizzard on point, just to ensure that they can put a stop to Tier 3 subs defense.
Supercharger dropped, Sound Barrier and Amp Matrix pushing forward. Amp Matrix not going to gain nearly as much value. The respect is there from T3 to force back, losing that support ultimate. Doggo with the Valkyrie trying to survive. Tank configuration at least going to take down the hit scan on the high ground position, now gaining the opportunity, looking to pick off that Mercy play, forcing it away with no healing, and the last-ditch effort with this ultimate economy allows Pile Driven to look and complete this first point and transition into the next with that 3-minute time bank, and allowed T3 to have to defend once more.
Sometimes you just need to have a full slate of 6 ultimates, and then what happens? You win the team fight. So great job by Pile Driven. They're going to unlock that point B to get up there. They don't have too much snowball potential here, just because there's no ultimates online for either team. So both teams really going in blind to this fight, where there isn't really a game plan except to just see if they can win the all-out brawl.
That flank opportunity to try and transition around the back is very important. The Bastion going to be set up. Nice shield rotation here again as the Amplification Matrix comes out by Jellies, but the flank is there potentially by Kalman to cause some harass. Gets rid of the Immortality Field as the Kinetic Grasp will still prevent so much onto this Bastion. Talking into the corner, getting that vantage. The Riptire is going to be coming up shortly, but Razor being forced back. Now, on this point, 1 tick already. Pile driving in a great spot, but the Junkrat claims the Bastion and will prevent most likely any capitalization on this. The Riptire as an insurance policy to take down Jellies in the back, and no longer will allow this just consistent applied pressure from Pile Driven.
No consistent applied pressure here, but actually Pile Driven is still getting the betterment of this fight. They might be able to get 2 ticks here, especially with the sound barrier right on top for sustain.
Frogger really getting a lot of AoE healing, and that sound barrier just securing this point as Razor opts to switch to the Doomfist from the Junkrat. Does go down. The Supercharger getting some value. This is a miraculous play. You have the res hoping to come out from Doggo. Does get the Orisa back online with the tank configuration from Colorblind looking to whittle this health away on that Orisa. Blizzard on the point coming out by Logna. Simple play and forcing every member of T3 away from this point. The D.Va as well with the desperate opportunity of getting back onto this point being the priority, and now this is an opportunity for Colorblind to excel, getting every member that turns the corner instantly, completing it with just over a minute. What a push.
What an actual slog. Pile Driven didn't want to give up an inch and they took a mile. Tier 3 subs. Even though the respawns were closer, it's sometimes not enough for the power of the Bastion.
Nope. I mean, that was a really great exchange of positioning. You saw T3 subs playing a little bit further forward to try and look for a flank onto Pile Drive. Pile Drive got that Bastion play just on the inner corner, and Colorblind found an opportunity to really have to reposition Razor on the Junkrat. There was just so much movement to that went in favor of Pile Driving that T3 subs almost kind of just underestimated their potential.
Only a little bit. Oh, only a little bit, Rich Rad.
And now as we have the defensive position being Pile Driven with the Colorblind Bastion play, we'll see how this rotation is going to work with T3 subs just hovering over some Ana and Sombra play. Could just be a tell for us again, but yes, the defensive position does have Colorblind on that Bastion, which is still a great selection here and how well it's been playing. And this is where we like to see on that middle high ground, that Bastion.
I could see Razor staying to this, but I could also see Razor just utilizing the Sombra as a scouting tool. Maybe even just saying, hey, we just want to figure out where this team is coming from. But even from spawn, I feel like Tier 3 subs knows that the Bastion is an expectation at this point, and they've probably set themselves up on this middle high ground. So not too much reason to have the Sombra anymore. We're going to see them switch back to the Mei, which is just a really good choice, given that the wall could just block off the sight lines.
Funneling damage down that center stage with the Baptiste on the high ground here. Nice accretion coming out for a stun. Trying to just mitigate those barriers. The Immortality Field out in the open, so both of these abilities have now been rotated for the team. This Mei wall trying to block the damage for T3 subs, and it's honestly just trying to whittle away these health values as the Amplification Matrix by Aspen was absolutely lightning fast in generation.
Wow.
Aspire pushing on! 30 seconds for these support ults to become active, and now you see T3 subs going to aggress forward and deal some significant damage here to Pile Driving.
Well, they got rid of the formidable foe of that Bastion from Colorblind, so that's not going to be active right now, and you can see how much that does end up snowballing here for Tier 3 subs.
6 members on the point. 3 members could potentially go to just under 6 with how fast the cleanup is here. But you do have Logna and Colorblind with the ultimates available and really could be used to stop this momentum and cause a stalemate here for T3 to try and reach this, and that's a lot of time to have to wear away.
This is going to be an ultimate fiesta, though. Pile Driven wants to control, but the Storm Arrow's already opening up an opportunity for Tier 3 subs.
Tank configuration going to be forced out. Aspire getting the double now on the front, trying to collapse even further. You have the Dragon Strike forcing the separation. Colorblind can't get the pick as the freeze comes out just in time onto the Bastion play, but the Immortality Field greatly to react by Jellies on the side of Pile Driven. with the Blizzard now forced. Rotations coming out, 5 minutes and 10. Razor keeping pressure high onto these few members to freeze them. The Doomfist unable to do anything, trying to rush back to the point, can't seem to do so. This is going to be a difficult chance for Pile Driven to get back.
This is going to be a difficult chance. Look at how spread out Pile Driven has become, but actually, oh man, this long range damage coming in from tier 3 subs just is so much coming in.
Colorblind in the back, gonna get taken down by Razor. The double stacking up. These late staggered touches on the point, really giving an opportunity to contest, but the numbers still in favor heavily of T3 subs, wanting to complete it with a huge time bank, picking off the few. The Reaper on the back line will get to the point, but can't hold much longer as a 4 minute and 28 time bank sit in favor and on the side of T3 subs.
Whew, scrappy. If I had one word to define these fights, it's going to be scrappy. I said it was going to be an ult fiesta, but it ended up just also being bodies thrown at the point once again. And this time the strategy worked out for tier 3 subs, much as it worked out for Pile Driven. But now we're into extra innings. Round 3 here, Pile Driven has the opportunity to set the goalposts of, is it going to be a first point cap or a second point cap for potentially match point?
Very true. And again, 1 minute and 2 seconds isn't too long, but it is still enough to really gain some momentum onto a map like this. We've already seen it occur onto King's Row. Granted, still a different style of map, but with that minute, there is a lot to be gained with it, especially for how quickly both of these teams have been able to generate ult charge on a Baptiste. And we can just see Jellies going back to it, and that amplification matrix is going to be huge.
Amplification matrix is such a powerful tool, especially when you are running that Bastion. I mean, Pile Driven, I already like this composition a little bit better, just because I think that having the Wrecking Ball, because of how much disturbance it made at tier 3 subs backline the last time that they ended up running the Bastion with the Wrecking Ball, I think this is already off to a better start here for Pile Driven, and they've got to make something done quickly with the minute that they have on the clock.
Razor will get that early concussion mine on the front side, trying to get a pick, just raining a lot of damage. Immortality Field already forced out, almost getting a kill early onto that Orisa play. Still low. The shield comes up just in time, and these healers are funneling so much in the front side. The Wrecking Ball going to get picked off, though, by Aspire, as Jellies has to force out the amplification matrix. One member down. Aspire getting the double, taking down the third as the res comes out to try and stabilize, but the Riptire in the back going to gain it into this tight choke position underneath the building. Will go around the backside to try and find value. Does gain the triple with patience comes pursuit, and it's going to be 15 seconds now remaining for Pile Driven to contest this point.
Pile Driven needs to build up to something quickly, and I think this is going to have to be just the distraction that they're creating here. I gotta see this Wrecking Ball touch point, and they do proc the overtime.
Lucio and Wrecking Ball trying to round that intersection. The Tracer coming out as well. These last few members really just wanting to keep this fight alive, but Aspire and Aspen working in tandem with the remaining members of the team to get the entire team kill, as Pile Drive unfortunately will not be able to complete this round, with T3 subs going up next.
Was a desperation tactic at the very end there for Pile Drive, and they knew they had to touch point, and unfortunately meant their team composition just didn't quite work together the way that they were hoping that it would. But maybe they can utilize this Bastion on a different place, maybe the high ground or behind point, just to make it a little bit more difficult for tier 3 subs to touch. I mean, the Bastion actually ended up working out pretty well for Pile Driven on the first attack. The amplification matrix happened so quickly from Aspen, it was hard to mitigate all that damage.
You know, even further is how quickly the Riptire was generated. There was a lot of damage that came out early onto the Orisa play of Pile Drive, and just because that peek around the corner the few times just to get some visuals with the shield got deleted instantly and soaked so much damage from those grenades, forcing out that Immortality Field, already reaching almost 50%, which is massive to lead into. And the res was there. Pile Driven was not out of the fight just yet, but because that Riptire came when it did, it really got that triple and completely shut down the assault.
Complete shutdowns. That's what they're hoping for right now, but oh man. This is definitely going to be a tough one here. So
and the defensive side here is actually going to have a Torbjorn play with Logna on the Junkrat. So it'll be interesting for this 4-minute and 15-second time bank.
that's kind of what I was thinking right now, looking at Pile Drive in. They're really going all in on this strategy here, making sure that they can get some quick picks, and they're taking trades, though, across the board.
Yes, Aspen, though, going to start taking advantage. The Immortality Field no longer available. Repairing that turret no longer applicable as Colorblind has to force a retreat. The Discord is there as it's 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Quickly claiming it, but again, the aggression on the front side. Colorblind getting a takedown onto Genji just for glory. Not allowing Genji to get any sort of play regardless as much as we want. As T3 subs will be able to take this first point quickly and will knock out Pile Drive-In in this bracket.
We'll knock out Pile Driving, but that has got to be so much fun. Like, imagine just playing through the tournament and getting so much work done up to this point. Unfortunately, it just falls a little bit short. I mean, you're playing against some pretty tough players here on the side of Tier 3 subs, but valiant effort by Pile Driving, and we're on to the next one, Rich.
Yes, indeed. We have a lot, like I said, still to go. We are here for the long haul for all of you friends to bring you action for this Breakable Barriers. And we will go to a brief break to get these next teams situated for you. So like I said, we've got just a quick second before bringing more action. So I'm Richran with Necra, and we'll see you literally in moments ahead.